This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. Welcome to episode 86. I feel like I'm having an episode 86.
Oh
Hello,
my God.
Tim Dahl.
Hello. I've had a kind of a rough week, but
Oh, everybody has, but you know what? Look, it's the end. Look, February is one of the worst months. Other than it is Black History Month, it should be celebrated. But shortest month, darkest month, longest nights. It's on the uprise.
is it the longest nights? But anyhow, that's not even the point.
It seemed like it was the longest nights.
March might be my least favorite, but well, April soon. 200 coffins plummeted into the sea right around Genoa, Italy. You know, Genoa, it's been a shrinking city for a while. It's just one of these cities. It's not like St. Louis or Baltimore. It's just one of these cities that's just it lost the jobs and they can't get it going.
It used to have one of the best poetry festivals, but that was years ago.
I've played there. It's actually a beautiful city. It's kind of like these terraced apartments going out.
Okay, so 200 coffins sliding into the ocean.
Yeah, so basically this, they can't keep their infrastructure up, and there was a rainstorm and then landslide, and then basically a cemetery that was just about 230 feet specifically above sea level. It's right on this rock cliff. The whole fucking cemetery went into the ocean, and they're like, what the hell's that? And they went, and then there's just bobbing. I mean, it's not like an old cemetery, just bobbing coffins in the Mediterranean, just bobbing around. And
well, you know what? I'm not against a watery grave, but really, I think ashes to ashes is the way to go. Don't waste land.
I mean, they've recovered some fresh corpses. They've identified people, but they're basically, the mayor is like.
By the way, okay, so it's raining in Genoa and Venice now. The canals are down. Not enough water there. Unbelievable.
Wait.
In Venice, Italy.
The water's going down there. Okay.
Strangely enough. By the way, did you hear about those two? And Simon, this is in your neighborhood. Two mummified men in their 70s, hoarders, buried under their crap in Kensington. Simon, did you have anything to do with that?
It was like an avalanche of their stuff.
An avalanche of garbage, and they weren't found until they were mummified. A few blocks from here. I don't know why, but I just also thought of the Black Bear in Eagle Rock. Eagle Rock, that would be outside of Los Angeles. Usually the black bears, I always love the stories in the summer where they're like on the trampolines or in people's pool. There's a black bear, just like, I don't know, maybe they're looking for, I don't know, a rock club to go to. They used to be some good ones there.
Well, we don't have to go into this tangent for too long or at all, but as you know, I've had multiple black bear encounters, and they're, you just don't want to fuck around with a bear,
No, I don't. And why don't we get your animal stories out of the way? Because I know you got another one.
Well, I got here. Well, this is kind of a sad one. This one flea and tick collar, it's being recalled.
Oh, horrible. Yes.
They basically connected it with over 1,700 deaths of dogs and cats, and the EPA is coming in, and it's gonna be a long lawsuit because there's all these like disclaimers, because anytime you deal with a pesticide, which is essentially what those collars are, there's risks of problems.
Well, look, I love pets and petting as much as the next person, but the problem is, it's like baby food, which we already talked about a couple of weeks ago, about the toxicity in baby food, even especially in the biggest brands. I mean, the same as with pet food and pet collars. I mean, our good friend Carla Rhodes, who's a great wildlife photographer, she makes her own dog food. Now, she doesn't cook for her husband, but she makes her own dog food. I don't know if I'd go that far, but anyway, just saying.
Yeah, well,
speaking about dog food, I wanted to take this to the next.
Yes,
because, right at this point, a lot of Americans might be living on frickin' dog food. And there's two things that are really, there's a few things crawling up my ass this week. And one is these moronic, middle-aged or usually octogenarian white men, Republicans, complaining about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which is still below the poverty level, when they're sitting on millions of frickin' dollars. Now, I have to hand it to one of the smartest women I don't know. And the reason is she knows more about the corruption in banking than a lot of the bankers, and that's Elizabeth Warren. And the fact that she's been harping on this for a while, and I am dumbfounded. a 2% tax on people making more than $50 million a year. And they're fricking complaining about it. Now, what I don't get is in 2020 alone, America's billionaires, which by the way is not you or me, we're not even thousandaires at this point, saw their wealth increase $560 billion.
It's so
as
outrageous.
How many millions of people on the verge of losing their houses, waiting for that stimulus check, working or not in restaurants, hospitality, the biggest workforce, making nothing. In other words, this is just ridiculous. And she's been going on about this for a while. And how fucking dare they sit there with their millions and their stocks and their corruption and their lobbyists and complain that they don't want a 2%. And by the way, America has the highest wealth gap. We are number one again in some of the worst fucking practices. I'm just whatever.
Well, not whatever, because the fucking what was it? 2018 is that Trump McConnell $2 trillion tax cut. And now when the people actually need it, they're like, oh, we can't do that. We hogged all the money. It is so fucking outrageous.
And again, it's not their fucking money. I mean, this is what I don't get. First of all, most of the money, so-called, is not even money. It's capital. It doesn't exist in actual dollar bills. It's a possibility of future sales. This is what most money is. It's not how many dollars you got in the bank. A lot of it is actually invisible. It's all a fucking ruse. It's bullshit. We're still debating whether people should make $15 an hour. And, kudos to Alabama trying to start an Amazon union. 6,000 people work in, mostly black, in one Amazon warehouse in Alabama. And we all know, look, we all order, we're addicted to freaking Amazon. Fuck you. And the thing is, I mean, at least Biden did say, because he had to cover his ass, he's for unions. I mean, the thing about unions is it does protect the workers. We used to have unions in this country, and they protect against the corporation. How can you have 6,000 people, and that, I don't even know how many work in all the Amazon stores. Come on. And have some respect, have a little dignity, give people breaks. And you know what? You're sitting there in your fucking castle making billions a year. And is that your problem? Yeah, it is you know what? It's going to turn into your problem soon. And if the right people actually start making a bigger protest, and that's what unions do, things just might start to change. Well, I don't know.
That's the problem with all junkies. And being a junkie, I do have compassion for junkies, but whatever kind of junkie you are,
a money junkie.
Well, in this case, we're talking about money junkies.
By the way, Tim, hang on, Tim. I think we're going to write that song.
Money junkie. Well, so I mean, that's the problem with all junkies, and they don't have perspective. And so whether it's a drug addiction, a money addiction, there's collateral damage. And so I've said it before, if you're a heroin addict, the collateral damage is the loved ones around you, family, friends, and it's a disaster. If you're a billionaire money junkie, the collateral damage is all of society. It has to be addressed. You've got a problem. Elon Musk, you got a problem. Whatever, the list goes on.
Exactly. Well, speaking about problems, this is kind of very alarming to me. Now, as a Luddite or Luddite, however you want to call me, I don't read anybody's Facebook. I don't go on social media because I would hate everybody more than I already do. But what's interesting to me is in the last year, self-harm claims between 13 and 18-year-olds have risen by 330%, and overdoses are up by 120%. Now, this goes back to my point, is this. Social interaction is very important. Experiential, environmental communication. The problem with people who have been in lockdown, especially at that age, is they think they're having social communication because they're on the social network. But if it really worked and did what it should do, which is to help people communicate with each other and find like-minded people, there wouldn't be these statistics. And the problem with the pandemic is that because it's removed physical, real contacts and experiences, which are already hard enough for people in that age bracket to find because they're too busy looking at their fucking phones and how many likes they have. I mean, this to me is just, it's just outrageous. And, a lot of it, of course, is, fears, infection fears, instability, social isolation. There's all these things that are triggering it. But basically, I think it goes back to the fact of this. We need to be, and this is why spoken word is still very important to me. And it's why the podcast is important to me, even though I wish we were touching you all right now. Excuse me, we'll get on to that in a minute.
Oh, boy.
I touched myself. That was a Divinal song. Intimate experience with real people gains far more knowledge and understanding than staring into a fucking computer screen for 8 to 10 hours a day. And learning also, which is the basis of why we live to be as old as we do, myself included, is a process that has to be experienced. You're not really experiencing things when you're staring into an electrically driven device.
Well, I mean, human evolution's happened for, it's been a long time, and we didn't arrive at this point just out of thin air. Just like my friends who workaholic friends and stuff who isolate themselves, or maybe my friends who have social anxiety isolate themselves. I always say, be careful with this. I mean, whether you like it or not, we're a social species, and we need interaction on the physical level. And people think, oh no, we can just reduce it to this little digital thing. It's like, no, you can't.
As the opposite of the Marina Abramovich as an artist, looking in people's eyes, which, she gets paid to have people to stare into her void, I still find is a very important way to access not only information, but to process and to give communication.
Roger Kib, I don't know how it's pronounced, but the I-5 killer was killed. His cellmate, Jason Boudreau, 40. It's interesting when these legendary serial killers, it's happened to Jeffrey Dahmer too. Oh no, was it Dahmer? No, it happened to Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, he was killed in prison. I think these other people are serving these long sentences. They want some kind of celebrity too status. That's why they kill a serial killer. But anyhow, he's dead. The I-5 killer got killed by another killer in prison.
There was an interesting Saturday Night Live clip this past week because I, like most of my female friends, we are obsessed with forensic files, new detectives, any kind of true crime shows. And Saturday Night Live actually featured a skit about like women waiting for their boyfriends or husbands to leave the house so they can, I'm gonna do some work. No, we're gonna watch forensic files for 8 hours a night. Now, speaking about forensics, something that's really gotten under my skin the last few days is this. Now, I am not the biggest fan politically of Andrew Cuomo, but I have to say this. I heard him today make what very few sexual harassers, quote unquote, or abusers ever do, which is a pretty amazing apology where he admitted he was embarrassed, absolutely embarrassed to even admit he was embarrassed, that his behavior, which was kind of flirty, and face it, Grandpa, he's Italian, he's flirty, made anyone feel uncomfortable. Now, 2, maybe 3 women have come forward, and this is what's bugging me. Yes, women need to come forward because, face it, sexism, racism, every kind of ism is out there against every single one of us. But when it's reduced to this, I start getting pretty pissed off. One woman is complaining because he actually asked, do you like older men? Now, look, if somebody asked me if I like older men, you know what I'd say? I don't, Grandpa, because they fucking smell like cheese most of the time. Okay.
Didn't he ask one of them if she ever slept with an older man, or is that a misquote?
The thing, first of all, hang on. First of all, he's apologizing. Second of all, he's asking. Now, the biggest crime so far, and he also said, I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I do want the truth to come out. And as far as he knows, and even they've admitted it, his accuser said he's never sexually aggressively touched them. Okay, this is what he did to one woman. He kissed her on the lips. Now, hang on. You have what? 32, 36 teeth. He has 2 lips. Yeah, fucking bite him if you don't like it. Another thing he did, and I have to say, first of all, it was at a wedding. There is nothing I respect less than marriage other than the wedding. Okay. First of all, he and her, she's in her 20s. I'm sorry. It's really a generational thing. They're at a wedding. She has a backless dress on and he puts his hand on her bare lower back gently. Why didn't she just say to him, Andy, can you lower your hand a few inches? I'd like to shit in your palm. You know what? It would have ended the fucking problem. What I'm saying is this. Going to the press about somebody asking you, actually, this was one of his things he said to one woman. I can't remember when I hugged someone last. She assumed he meant he wanted to sleep with her. Excuse me. Sometimes you just want to fucking cuddle, honey. You know what I'm saying? And well, I'm just, go ahead.
It's going back to the whole thing about physical interaction. And a lot of younger people, again, in this digital age, you know, we could debate all day if someone literally just touching someone, you know, you can say, well, there's benefits to this. And some people say, well, that's very traumatic. And
there is a lot of inappropriate behavior on every sector of society like this. I'm not discounting that.
What I'm getting at is you could debate on whether that's acceptable or not. You know, you could say it's outrageous. You can say, you know, lighten up, idiots. But the point is right now in 2021, it is not allowed. I mean, if you touch someone, it's like you're done. It's over.
Hang on. Stop right there. I get where you're coming from. However, let's go back to this. 2, maybe 3 women. There might be more coming out. And he even encouraged them to come out. He apologized. Okay, that might not be enough. He learned his lesson. He wanted somebody to hug. Nobody has said that he did anything completely untoward. It's that people are so sensitive now. However, we had a fucking orange ass clown king with 26 women, including rape charges and libel charges coming out. Nothing was done. Okay. But anyway, ladies, I'm not discounting your horror at the fact that not all men are pigs. Some are. Look, of course it's horrible when somebody holds their dick over your fucking paycheck. That's ridiculous. It happens all the time and has got to stop. What I'm suggesting, ladies, is the Big Lou method. That is part of who I am. In other words, Confucius. Some one-liners. Just consider. Say you're in a bar, which is where a lot of these incidents happens. Oh, at weddings, whatever. Of course, in the office place, it's unacceptable. I'm going back to what Connie Chung said. One of the first female Asian newscasters, when old, disgusting men would approach her, and she would just smile at them and go, I'm sorry, but you're just not attractive enough to me. Ladies, I'm sure these one-liners, feel free to use them, are going to work in any bar. Say some dork comes up to you, says something stupid. How about this line? Please don't insult my intelligence, and I won't insult your manhood. How about your lack of finesse is stunning, but so would my boot be in your fucking crotch. How about, I think your mother's calling. Actually, I think your mother just called and she said to grow the fuck up, Skippy. Can you imagine the look? How about, I think Donald Trump just called you and he wants his asshole back, asshole. How about, has that stupid line ever worked on an intelligent woman? I'm waiting. How about, and again, this is for Andy Cuomo. If he would put his hand on my back, which, by the way, I wouldn't mind a massage from him or anybody else, but I would ask him to lower it so I could fucking shit in his palm. Now, how about just very good in the bar? Do you smell that? I wish you'd fucking stop talking because all you're talking is shit and I can smell it from here. How about, I would love to do you if you don't mind blowing my boyfriend first. How about I would really love to fuck you, but my wood chipper is in the fucking shop till next week. And by the way, I'm just saying, that's Big Lou. This is Lydia Lunch. Buck up, Buckies. You know what? I know that it's a fucking problem, but when you complain or snitch on every little fucking thing, it actually makes less of an impact when women are really being harassed. Sexism, racism, religiosism. There's so many kinds of problems, and they're all much bigger. So why not just take it upon yourself to maybe, you can't correct the whole fucking problem, but what if you just try to school one man at a time and maybe he won't say that again? Like, can you just imagine saying, hey, Skippy, I think your mom's calling. Or,
Skippy. When was the last time you ran into a Skippy?
Well, I'd rather not talk about that right now, but I have to say Skippy was really cute and a nice teenage boy, and he grew up well. I was teenage too. And you know what? What if instead you went to the newspaper and said, hey, he tried to grab my ass and I just kicked him in the fucking nuts. You know what? That would put some fucking fear where it belongs. Fear of a female fucking planet. What more do I need to say? This is the Lydia and Spin, Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, episode 86. Happy to have Tonya Pearson on. This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and our guest today is one of my most sassy friends, I guess, Tonya Pearson. Tanya is, I hate to call her a musician, although she does do music, because I find that term mostly insulting, other than the fact that she has produced for the past 6-7 years the Women of Rock Oral History Project, which is now being housed at the Sophia Smith Collection at Smith College. She's a documentarian, a journalist, a writer, and I'm very proud to say I popped her cherry on the project. Women of Rock. She came to me first. I was very impressed. Tell me about it, Tanya.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what was going through my mind or why I thought that was a good idea, but I saw that you were going to be in Providence and you were playing with Whore Paint, and I've been friends with Rebecca and Hillary for a really long time, and the Machines with Magnets guys. And I thought, oh, perfect. There's a place where I can like do it because, you know, I'm a traveling, touring historian. So yeah,
a nomadic historian.
Yeah.
You had the concept that you wanted to do this project.
Yeah.
So you come to my sound check.
Yep. Oh yeah, because I even stayed overnight. I went to your show. I actually, this is the first time that I've ever spoken to you and not gotten my period.
What?
Oh, what you mean? Right? You mean right now?
No, I don't. I checked my period tracker on my phone because every other time that we have been together, I've gotten my period, whether it was due or not. Well, so I got my period that night, went to the bathroom to throw up. Then when I was doing your interview the next day, this is not a lie, my sister went into labor with my nephew. So then I went to the hospital, saw my nephew, came and did your interview.
Well, you know, that's two things.
Wow.
One thing I will never do again, and another thing that I will never ever do anyway, is I will never give birth, and I can't say I'll never bleed again, but not from that. I have to ask, have you ever vaginal steamed after you met with me?
No, I remember I met you in Hudson once at Bibby's house, and I had a really bad period then, and you told me to. But then, like, Gwyneth Paltrow started doing it, so I was like,
you know,
I don't know.
Well, what's up with that person?
And if that really doesn't matter, the last thing I want to smell on this planet is her vagina in the form of a candle, because it probably smells like a ball of cotton.
I mean, now this ignorant male here doesn't really know the details of vaginal steaming. I mean, I just assume you steam your vagina. Like, what's going on?
Tim, let me fill you in, Tim. The Mayans were very good at this, and they usually used it as a practice after childbirth.
Okay.
But what you do is you fill up a big pot, boil the water, put some herbs in it, depending on what you're trying to do. And especially women that, you know, there's no cure for the monthly monster. And for most women, you're vomiting or you're in such fucking pain. It's ridiculous. Nothing really works. But a lot of that problem is that there's often dead blood clogged up there.
All right.
And the way to hopefully get it out is to squat with the towel. It's best done in a group with your legs spread and steam your vagina, cleaning it,
and hoping that a big fat blood clot will come out and therefore relieve some of the pain. Now, you can also anally steam Tim, but however, as Tim Dahl is like the best smelling man I've ever met.
Yeah, you do smell good.
Oh, well, thanks, ladies. Tanya, Lydia's taught me a few things about vaginas throughout the years.
Thank you, Tim.
Well, I didn't, of course, I had to ask her this because it dawned on me. It's like, what's up with that whole symbol cliche of a witch flying in a broom with a broom?
Okay, Tanya, do you know?
No.
Okay. Tim, do you remember?
I remember, but I think you can explain it better.
All right. Okay, this is shocking to me because I found out not that long ago. Okay, why do we depict witches as flying on a broomstick? Tanya, no idea?
I know.
Okay, well, look, let's go back in time.
Okay.
What are witches known for? Herbology, abortifactants, sex magic, drugs in the form of herbs, basically being too sexy for most people to stand. In the past, that's why they killed us. Women that would be witches, that would be our heritage, used to carve wooden dildos and then coat them with hallucinogenic herbs. So why are they not depicting women flying on lubricated dildos that have psychotropic, that have like psilocybin coating on it? They had to just turn us into ugly moles on our noses flying on a broomstick. Well, the same thing is about reindeers, but we'll go into that later.
I'm a really bad lesbian because I don't have any of those dildos in my box of dicks. So.
Now, do you like psychedelics, or is it?
But your birthday is coming.
Yeah, my 40th birthday. I better get some.
I'll get whittling. Small, medium, large, or extra large. Tell me later.
Okay. And Tim, no, I can't really partake in any of those things anymore because I've been clean and sober for like 13 years.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
But
yes.
I'm still a lot of fun.
Well, and of course, I will look the other way. I know some people who are in AA and stuff. When it comes to psychedelics, they kind of don't treat it like alcohol or opiates. It's kind of a different thing. A lot, especially when people do ayahuasca.
Not dogmatic about recovery at all. Like,
right.
I was talking to someone the other day, like a famous musician person, and she was all ashamed because she's like, "Well, I've been, sober for 30 years, but." I slipped up 6 months. And I'm like, you start over if you had a
come on, I know.
But look, let me just cut in with this. Some people really have to be all or nothing. They have to.
Right.
And it's just part of their chemical makeup. It's part of their genetics that it's just bad for them to do some of the things that Tim and I like to do on an occasional.
I like putting brooms caked in psychedelics in my vagina. I just do.
I love to be there when you do it. What can I say?
Hey.
But still, Tanya, you don't need any of those things because you are still one of the most. Well, look, we've had quite a few drives in cars, and I have to say those conversations would burn the ears off most people.
I know.
One of the reasons I love you, honey.
I'm a sober freak. Yeah, I don't need it.
Any stories we can broach that were in that car?
No, we can't.
Look,
we're not going to talk about her sex projects. We're going to talk about the Women of Rock Oral History Project. And let's go back to the beginning then. So you had been doing music before you had that concept to do this. And of course, somebody had to do this project because, well, we're overlooked. And you're not only women in rock, all kinds of music you covered. So give us a little prehistory about, what you were doing before that, because you were attending Smith College at the time that you came to me. I popped your cherry on this, and now you've done how many interviews?
I think I'm up to like 55. Yeah, but obviously I haven't done any this year. So.
Well, see, that's why we do the podcast by Zoom. But carry on. So before that, you were in bands and stuff. You were a music fan.
Yeah. So, well, I was listening to Jeff's interview from Arab Radar too. So that was, I lived in Providence in my late teens and like early to mid 20s. So, hung out at the warehouses and but I wasn't like, I was such a fucking mess that I didn't like accomplish anything or do anything notable. Like those people probably don't know who I am because I was just kind of like playing in bands and fucking around.
Well, excuse me, you were playing in bands and sucking up culture. That's not exactly doing nothing, just because you might have been fucked up compared to the overzealous workhorse that you are now. Carry on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's my one regret is that I kind of wish I had been like a fucked up overzealous workhorse back then.
Oh,
So
please. Oh, honey, you're still young, babe. Come on, you got decades to go.
Can we time out for a second? The audio on Lydia, it seems echoey. Is it the mic or is it the computer?
Okay. Well, this could be the fucking problem. Okay.
Let's see if that's any better.
Oh, much better.
Oh, there you go.
All right, the echo is gone, so I'm no longer echoing the bunny buster.
There you go. So I mean, we all like to beat, or Lydia doesn't, but I beat myself up in terms of like, what I didn't take advantage of at this certain time, and just being in Providence during those formative years and all those great bands is almost an achievement to even participate as a voyeur, as opposed as opposed to a participant, because it wasn't like everyone was going to check it out. It was kind of the curious minds, the people that wanted something beyond just commercial pop culture, and you had it right there in your backyard, essentially.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started your first band, and were you playing in Providence at that time?
Well, I've been playing in bands since I was in high school, and then I was probably
So she was participating.
Yeah, so in Providence, I was probably like 21, 22 when I started playing out with bands. A lot of the times, I was always like the only girl in a band, and like a lot of my guy friends were like crust punks and anarchists, and so that's how I kind of got into listening to punk rock. Like, I wouldn't say that I was very well-rounded musically before then, so I really learned like everything that I know about underground music from going to those shows and like hanging out with those people and going to seeing Arab on Radar like teabag my friend and then being like, what the hell is Arab on Radar? Like, what are they listening to?
The days when you can actually perform a show or go to a show.
Yeah.
I'm not nostalgic, but it is getting a bit painful.
Oh yeah, I'm like a true introvert, but I was so excited to do this just because I was so excited. Well, obviously I love your fucking podcast, but just to talk to people and like look at them. Like,
I do love being looked at, and I do love talking to people, and I love
looking at you. So
and I love talking to you. I'm telling you, what did I write to you in the last email? It's, I miss our car conversations, honey. We might just have to have a little road trip one way or the other. I don't care.
Okay, I mean, if it's just you and I don't care either.
Do you have a little?
Who else ever is it? It's you and me, and what do? We talk about everybody else. I love it.
Well, Lydia. Well, if I'm allowed, we could drive up. It's only 3 hours away.
No, I'm sorry, Tim. It's sorry.
I'll let you have my car for a while to do your private conversations. And we can hang out. All right, it doesn't matter.
Okay, we can think about that. But Tanya has a car. You could drive me up there. Because Tim and I also have great conversations in the car alone. We keep our conversations to ourselves. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
All right.
So do you have a little capsule of safe friends during this pandemic that you can at least be in the same room with?
Yeah, I have 2 friends, and we've kind of like, they're the people I've seen in person since March. My band hasn't played at all.
Yeah.
Nobody's band has.
And I'm just kind of over it.
That's tough,
okay, but hang on. But your band hasn't played, but let's just talk about this album that you played everything on except for the song I did with Weasel, War Pigs. You played all the music. The women that you invited to the Women of Rock oral project, you got them to do the vocals of all different kinds of cover songs. So you did that. Let's talk about that for a minute. What's that called? Is it out? What's going on with that?
Oh yeah, it's out. So it's called Covers for the Apocalypse Volume 1. Because I was hoping to do another one, and it's just
who's on that? Who's on that? What are the songs?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you and Weasel did your own, which is
War Pigs.
Awesome, and
cool.
that's the last track, as it should be. Talia Zedek from Live
Come,
Skull.
come, right?
Yeah,
I really like her voice a lot. She's great.
Oh yeah, she's fucking awesome. She's not. I couldn't believe she said yes, and she's really nice. Oh my god. Miranda Winters from Milk Belly. Adelbert Ties on it. My friend Erin McKeown, who lives up here. I wish I had. I know I'm gonna be.
Well,
like,
that's it. That's all right. We'll put a link to it anyway. But no, I mean, look, after you've interviewed 40, 60, 80 people, as we're up to over 80 podcasts, we can't even believe it. You lose a bit of track of things. And
I
so,
feel like to name drop everybody.
well,
wanna
they
be
all need their names dropped, actually. So I mean, we don't have time to list all of the people, but we're gonna have a link to the interviews are all up online. So that's what's great.
Yep, everything I have permission to make available to the public. Like that's the whole purpose of the project. It's not to have some secret fucking archive, where you have to have like special access. So it's just everywhere. I have volunteers who are putting them on YouTube, and so I'm just hoping that people will find it. The album it's on Bandcamp, and I'm doing a limited edition run of vinyl. So I'm hoping, people's purchases go towards the vinyl, because I've made like no money this year, obviously.
Any year being a musician or an artist or a documentarian or a journalist?
Yeah,
Of course not.
not happening. So
No.
So that's why I did that. But also I was just going insane in my apartment. I have a rehearsal space down the street, and I play every instrument. And I got my saxophone out for the first time in like 10 years. I played fucking saxophone on an
Which I
L7
love
song.
a woman with a sax. I don't care how good or bad they play. I'm a bit more precious with other instruments. I always prefer women with tubas or saxophones. I just love it. I once was, it was in a 3-piece tuba group, all women, would just be like my ideal thing. I don't care whether they can play it or not. Just watching them walk in with these giant things on their attached to their lips, I'd be thrilled.
Well, do either of you have a preference for a tuba versus a sousaphone?
No, Tim.
I mean, the tuba is clearly the concert one.
I'm gonna go with tuba.
I mean, the sousaphone's a bigger spectacle, but the tubas sound better. Yeah, it's a correct answer.
Tim, you would know this. Do they make mini tubas?
Well, that's like a euphonium, which is basically like
I want a pocket tuba.
Yeah, euphonium looks like a mini tuba, basically.
All right.
And there's no gig for that unless you're joining
Things
the
that are
military.
able to like easily be transported, I'm all about. So yeah,
Yes.
that's fine. And
I say just put some wheels on a tuba, ride it down the street. You can, busk and have transportation, zero energy.
put some wheels on it and be steampunk.
There you go. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So is it tenor or alto?
It's
sax?
alto.
Alto.
Yeah. That was my first instrument. So
you went to like in public schools, you were in the band or something like that?
Yeah, it was. I was the band kid. Yeah.
Was it a Bundy? What was the first thing they gave you? What was it?
It was a Bundy.
Oh yeah, I nailed it.
And that was fucking expensive too. I remember my parents paid like, I don't know how, because we were very poor, but they came up with, I remember it was $1,000.
What?
Yeah.
A Bundy cost $1,000 fucking bucks?
I distinctly remember that.
No idea.
I felt so guilty. Yeah.
Well, you still play, so it was worth it.
Yeah, I took it back. I sent my dad a picture. I'm like, look, I'm playing my Bundy again. It's the same one I've had since I was 10.
It was an investment. It was an investment.
And now I made a cover for the apocalypse with my Bundy saxophone.
What was the hardest track for you to play musically? What was the hardest? So, I mean, I know you covered so many different kinds of songs. What was the hardest one for you to actually play everything on?
Oddly enough, because I did a lot of songs that didn't end up on the album either. So, but actually it was a Liz Phair cover that was really hard because it's just the same thing. It's a very simple drum beat for like 5 minutes. And I didn't change it that much from the original. When I do music, I don't care if it's perfect. I don't care if I miss a beat or if it's.
I never care if it's perfect, but you know what I say. If you don't have a vision, don't give it a sound. You have a vision. I don't care how well you do or don't play.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, it was like this Liz Phair song where I just had to do the same beat over and over and over
look,
again.
sometimes the simplest, dumbest things are the hardest things to reproduce. People
Yeah.
don't realize, I mean, how difficult it is to do really simple, monotonous stuff.
It's
Take it
hard,
from
yeah.
take it from an expert.
Well, I mean,
Oh yeah,
especially-
you know, because I saw Tim play drums for you at the Teenage Mutant
Oh,
reunion.
right. Oh,
I
yes.
saw that.
I like
You
to
were at that
describe.
show,
I
yeah.
like
Yeah,
to
I went.
describe. I like to describe that as making a genius do a monkey's
Yeah,
work.
it was really funny. Tim just like,
Oh
It
my
was
God.
great. Well, Weasel had to take his hands and actually show him how to be that dumb.
Well, yeah, you know, it was one of the highest paying gigs I ever had in my life. It was, I mean,
especially
that
because-
for a single gig, I think I got like $1,000. Yeah.
Highest paying gig with the least amount of comprehension because Tim is just too intelligent to understand how anybody would call this, and I didn't, music. Just
Well, the thing, but going back to like the whole simple timekeeping, the reason why it's not simple is because for humans to perceive metric time, it goes against nature. That's why it's so hard. Within a few seconds, just our perceptions, just even on our own age and our own lives, is like just our perception of time as humans is just way out there. And so, yeah, going forward here. So you're playing all the instruments. How did you track that? Did you have like a click track and you started with the drums?
oh man, you guys are gonna die. All right, so I like learned how to use GarageBand during the pandemic too.
honey, I use it all the time. I use the most basic GarageBand to compose, to recompose, to remix. I only want the most basic one. That's all I will use. Nothing wrong with it.
But I
Go
have
ahead.
interface with one microphone input. So
Okay, all right,
is not
Tanya.
great for,
Tanya,
like-
sorry, I hate to undercut you. I've done so many vocals without a mic directly into the Mac mic, and it sounds freaking good.
Yeah.
So you got the one mic. So you're topping
Well,
me.
this was I was like, okay, how am I going to record drums with my Focusrite interface with my one microphone input? And so I would just test it a couple of times, like putting it in different areas around the drum set. And it was it's like, I've been doing the same thing since I was 16, 17 years old. Like that's how I've always recorded.
Yeah, well,
Except now I'm not using my Fostex digital 8-track recorder and like burning a CD and then putting the stuff on the CD into my computer. So this is sort of like streamlines the process with GarageBand.
which was a step above the Fostex or Tascam cassette 4-track, which I had. That thing was like, oh boy.
Oh yes. And I've also had that since 97 as well. Like,
do you ever go back there? Was there like a pleasant distortion with those old Fostex digital recorders where you kind of blow it out and have, because
yeah, you can blow it out. Yeah, and I would do that a lot on purpose because I like it, like when it's fucked up and yeah.
All right. Well, all right. So, but you there's a method to the madness, and you've managed to do it and realize it. Well, I mean, people don't even realize. The average person doesn't realize if they're not an artist. Yeah, I know it sounds corny, but it's brave. I mean, just to walk out the door with a vision. All of society is just basically trying to like, no. I mean, it's just like every step there's obstruction.
Well, Tim, you just said my favorite word.
What's that?
No. Because first of all, no. Never stop me.
No, it doesn't stop me too either.
Yeah,
I mean,
me neither.
I don't know if are we delusional or we just don't give a fuck, or I don't know.
We don't give I'll just quote my favorite female rapper, Boss. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a single solitary fuck, motherfucker. Not giving a fuck. Oh yeah, Tanya, you know that track.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I really don't anymore. Just I don't know. I like working on stuff. Usually people, if they say they want to do a project with me, it like doesn't happen fast, or things fizzle out, or they're like, yeah, let's. So I end up.
No. Well, that's why you take the bull by the horns, and that's why you were able to interview so many women for your project because you decided to do it and you did it, and you had some help from some other gals, but you did it, and that's what we do. We get an idea and we frickin' do it because we know the end result. We have to do what we have to do. And it doesn't matter if anybody likes it or they don't fucking like it. I don't fucking care. You got to do what you got to do. And you got to find a way to do that. And it's not a popularity contest because that's a crapshoot. The first song I ever wrote was "Popularity is so boring. I didn't even know what it meant." All right.
I have a question for you. I know that you really don't care what people say about you. And now with the internet, it's like I go on YouTube sometimes and stupidly read the comments, and it'll just be like, this is
Okay.
the worst interview ever.
Stop right here. Stop right there.
Like, how do you not care?
Stop right there.
Yeah.
I have Facebook, Instagram. I don't do those things. Simon or Sebastian does them for me. I've never seen one person's Facebook. I don't even know the password for my Facebook. I don't fucking care. Simon occasionally tries to tell me, oh, somebody said, I'm like, I don't care what they said. I don't care what they said. They want to say it to my face. I care to hear it. I don't care.
Just turning the comments off, because like, why do
I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I just don't. I mean, I can't be any clearer. I don't fucking care.
And how bored are people? I mean,
I
like what?
Get a fucking life. You know why I don't do that shit? Because I don't have fucking time to do that shit. I don't have time to sit around and diddle dawdle and twirl over people's, ridiculous or brilliant. If I want to read something, I want to read a fucking article or a book. I don't want to read a comment.
And
comments are like novels too.
Oh boy,
Not novel enough for me, honey.
Who would ever thought? I always say, who would ever thought Revenge of the Nerds would have been so complicated? I mean, it's just maybe the old school physical bullying was actually the nice days, the good old days.
Because usually you got it over, an hour after school.
You're venting. It's out. And this is like
the thing is
insane.
With internet bullying, who has the time to even respond? I mean, this just becomes a pissing contest. And
yeah, no, I never.
You know what? I can piss like a fucking horse. So unless you really want to compete with me, why would you? First of all, I'm a professional heckler. Don't even start. We'll just stop it right there. Tanya.
Yes.
You know how sweet I am.
I do know.
I know, and I know how sweet you are, honey. Tell me about your new book about an icon. And it's great that you wrote it now because we don't know how much longer she has, but Marianne Faithfull, very strange. I mean, imagine what that must feel like. You're the it girl in the 60s. You're screwing the Rolling Stones. You get busted. Then you're out of flavor. Comes back midlife, does great material, then falls out again and comes back in and out. What's the book about?
Initially, I had written this essay for like a music blog called Marianne Faithfull Diary of a Lesbian Spinster in Winter. And it was just like excerpts about being a lesbian spinster in winter and listening to Marianne Faithfull's album Negative Capability, which had come out in 2018. And I just thought it was fucking fantastic. She is like one of my archetypes. I love the aging torch singer, like the drug ravaged voice. Like
her voice is so great. After she didn't ruin it, she improved it. I mean, her voice is just I call it the kitty litter sound. I like that sound. Yeah,
I love it. So an editor from University of Texas Press, which I really like because they publish musicians, people who do music, they get them to write books as well. And they have a lot of great like music series. And so they asked if I would turn the essay into a book. There was like a little bit of trouble because at the beginning, because the essay was very like memoiric, and the book was supposed to be more biography. I have no desire to be like a biographer. So I was able to kind of, we reached a compromise. And so I like what it is. There's a bit of the essay style. It's like a memoir, but also just like a cultural kind of commentary and a little bit of biography about her. Why I love her so much and why I'm so, it just like pisses me off that people who are my age or younger, they really don't know who she is. And I know this for a fact, or in this country, I should say in the United States, because in Europe, she is, I know you hate the word icon, but she's an icon. She's a legend. People know who she is. And here, she still gets remembered for dating Mick Jagger for 4 years out of a 50-year career. She put out her best work like well after she was out of the Rolling Stones orbit. Like the only thing that they ever did for her was be at a party that she attended. And like their manager said, who's this chick with the big tits? Like he literally said, she's an angel with big tits. But that's all they did. And so it pisses me off, headlines about her still talk about Mick Jagger, talk about the Rolling Stones, when she's had this like insanely diverse career. I mean, I have all of her records. She puts out a record still like every 3 to 4 years.
So when you finished with Smith, you decided to stay. Are you finished, right? You got a PhD or what was it?
I am a PhD candidate in history right now.
Wow. Wow. What does that mean by candidate? Does that mean like?
That means that now I just have to do my dissertation.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
What's that going to be on?
That is going to be on the removal of nonconformist women from mainstream rock radio after September 11th and the war on terror.
Whoa.
And actually, Shirley Manson basically like gave me my thesis during her interview. And then I was doing the more interviews that I did with like women who were on the radio in that era. They all said the same thing.
They all got fired or something? What
yeah,
happened?
they got taken off the radio.
Why?
There's this like return, because there was the return to kind of like Cold War ideals and women back in the home. It happened.
Tanya, I mean, I don't know if you're touching on this too, because right around the same time, especially after the quote unquote halftime Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction, it was like suddenly it was like Bush just became president. It was 9/11. Everyone's like back to just white fucking like 1950s America. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I know, but that is just like this pattern anytime there, during like war or times of real, I say political conflict, but it's like we're always at war and we're always in conflict. But,
right.
Tanya, Big 60 Noise has a song about 9/11 called Where You Gonna Run?
Yeah.
Where were you when they blew up the towers? Yeah, I'm going to resend that to you just in case.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even to the point where you have like Jewish Aaron Spelling coming up with a show, Seventh Heaven. It literally came out at that time. It was like everything went Christian white bread right after 9/11. Yeah, absolutely.
Even the fucking Dixie Chicks got taken off the radio. You know what I mean? For just saying.
You mean the chicks? You mean the chicks?
Yeah, the chicks.
They changed her. No. So let me ask you this: at Smith, do you ever run into Cheryl Redmond, the professor? Do
you mean Mitch McConnell?
Mitch McConnell's ex-wife?
Yeah. So
Cheryl blows my mind.
Cheryl has since retired, but when so I'm not around Smith. I'm at UMass now. But
my alma mater. Okay.
Yeah, but Cheryl was the director when I first started. She was in the process of retiring. Like Gloria Steinem would come in and they were friends. And I'm like, is this fucking late? Like, oh my God. I didn't put it together until very recently. I called one of my friends who used to work there and I said, is Cheryl Redmond Mitch McConnell's ex-wife? Because I just read an article that said Cheryl Redmond from Sophia Smith Collection. And they were just like, yeah, where have you been? She's writing a tell-all book and all of his kids hate him too.
They'll hate him.
Hang on. Tim really wants to get her on the podcast.
I kind of
that happen. Yeah.
You can make it happen. Yes.
I love connecting.
This would be incredible. I mean, I'm convinced that all of his legislating since that divorce was all about getting revenge on her. I mean, like all of his motivation is basically all about like,
and the rest of us
he's
suffer.
So bitter about it. Yeah. And the whole world suffers.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, maybe it's personal. And then the rest of women suffer as well.
Well, his whole thing was, even after the Woodward Trump book Rage, Trump was always saying like, all Mitch wants is the judges. So his whole thing's the judges. And what does that really mean at the end of the day? Like, he wants to reverse basically women's rights. Like,
history will be the true judge of just what went down.
Yep.
Let's get back to Women Who Rock and Women of Rock. Who was the most difficult interview either to land or to do? Or was it all pretty easy? Because it's a big undertaking. You have to be pretty bold to, first of all, ask people because it's difficult. You have to find their contacts, and then you have to convince them to even spend X amount of time. And when you were doing this, you were traveling around no budget, running up bills, going out to the West Coast, going wherever these ladies who rock are.
Yeah.
Who was the most difficult?
Oh my God. I have my horse. The only one who knows it is Bibby Hansen. Because on the way home, I called her And I was like, I just had the worst fucking experience doing an interview that I've ever had in my life. And I need to see you and hang out with you for like 5 minutes.
Do you want to keep that to yourself and tell me later, or?
Well, I'm not going to give the name,
You're so kind.
But can I tell the story though?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I can do it in like in a general way. So it was in upstate New York, obviously, because Bibby lives in, so it was like around there. I drive 3 hours.
You know what? I think I already know who it is, but I'm going to keep it to
I think
myself.
I told you who it was.
I'll go ahead.
Whoa, I want to hear
okay.
this.
So it
my
was
guess.
like, oh my God, I was expecting it to go really well because we had been in contact, like texting back and forth. So I figured it was going to be pleasant. We, kind of grew up in the same city. So I'm driving, I get to the house. It's a really, really long dirt driveway in the woods. Yes, Lydia.
Trust the witch.
So the first thing that I see driving down this dirt road is like a Twin Peaks looking kind of woman with long white hair pushing a baby carriage. And it's like this baby that's got kind of like dirt on his face and they're just staring. So I stop because they're walking down the middle of the driveway. So I stop my car and they're just staring at me. And so I got out of the car and I said, oh, hi, sorry, I'm here for an interview. And she just pointed up the road, like didn't say anything. I keep driving and I see brown people like toiling in the fields. Like they have these like,
this is like a Shirley Jackson horror story.
Oh my, I felt like I was on a plantation or something. Like that's how kind of disturbing it was. Then I finally get there, I'm early, but apparently it was interview day, which I was not told. I had to wait for these other people to break down because we were only allowed to set up in this one area. So again, I was early. So I'm sitting on the porch of this plantation house with the brown people toiling in the fields and just like women on scooters, like hippie, long-haired, like no one speaking to me. And the person I'm interviewing comes out from behind a pillar with a basket of flowers. And I just said, oh, hi, I didn't see you there. And she just like looked at me weird and then walked away. Then I was ushered into the room to where I was supposed to do the interview. God. The people before me had taken too long, so we were running late. And the entire time, so the narrator comes in with her assistant and they're talking like I'm not there, which usually that's when I talk to people first. We get kind of a rapport going before we start, but she obviously like does not, I was like invisible. Then then she told me that I was late and we were starting late. And I was like, I wasn't late, I was early, but it was okay. Was like super argumentative throughout the interview, which miraculously, Michael, my editor, he like managed to make it look like she wasn't mad at me the whole time. And the only time that she was nice to me was at the very end when I wasn't even going to ask her to take a picture because the whole thing was so like fucking miserable. That usually I take pictures with people and I'm like, I'm not asking. And then she was like, do you want to take a photo? And like put her arm around me and we were like taking photos, but she was just like yelling at me the whole time, ignoring me. And there were just weird, like.
Well, I have to cut in because I have to say that's how I have felt about her music and her whole career is I've been ignoring her. Every time I hear her name, I just yell. So I kind of the reverse angle on that story for you. We do not need to name she who does not need to be named because you did tons of interviews with gracious people who are interested in the project that's important. Yes.
Well, it's like I don't even want to interview people that don't want to be interviewed. So it's like,
you should have turned around and just said no thanks.
I know. Again, this was
I understand
3 years ago. If I knew then what I know now, I would it's like not worth my self-respect.
Now, this could lead to an opportunity. Maybe the two of you could collaborate on a spinoff called Women Who Don't Rock. And you could make it a whole bully thing. So there's plenty of those too.
I don't have time for that kind of nonsense. And look, Tim, what do you always say about me? I'm the grand encourager. There's too much shit.
I know.
The great cattle prod.
The what?
The great cattle prod.
The great cattle prod. I don't need to deal with shit that doesn't interest, impress, do something that's cuntish.
Well, can I steal my own idea and redirect it to? I can write
Go ahead.
one on men who don't rock.
Well, I was gonna say it better not be women because you're gonna get canceled.
No. Men.
You're gonna get canceled.
I'm thinking about a giant tome, like a really big book. Men who don't rock.
Yeah, I bet.
There's a lot of those.
I want to write a book called Men Who Will Never Suck My Cock.
Oh God, man, please do that.
That'd be a fat book.
Yeah, well, it's a fat cock, honey. Oh, she always gets me talking dirty.
Well, I have something dirty that I never told you.
Come on.
It's embarrassing, but so much time has passed now that I don't care anymore.
Okay, please.
So one of the first times that you came up to Northampton, I think it was to like talk to Beth at the archives or something.
Okay.
You were staying at that Northampton hotel.
Yes.
Glamorous. Okay. So you had to like get something out of your room, and I was like, oh my God, Lydia Lunch is like asking me to come up to her hotel room with her.
Oh, you
sassy. I really thought we were gonna like sleep together.
Aww.
Never say never.
And
I know.
Or as Romeo Void once said, I might like you better if we slept together.
Yeah,
now, I mean, that's from a 300-pound Mexican chick who once at the Tropicana motel in Hollywood took all of her clothes off and skinny dipped with me. Romeo Void.
I didn't know that story. That's a good one.
I got a million of them. Well, I didn't know you thought I was that cute, honey.
Was this one of your?
I've always had a crush on you. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're friends.
Yeah, but we're friends, but you know, I'm kind of a crusher.
Yeah.
That's what
I like that. I like.
Have you ever met Big Lou?
Yes, I have once.
Okay. Well, do you want to sleep with Big Lou? I don't think so. Well, maybe you would though. You're sassy that way. Anyway.
Yeah, might be fun.
All right, we'll keep that one to ourselves. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, next
road trip to the woods.
Okay. Well, all right. So that's
in the woods.
But that's inevitable that you're going to run in. There's going to be one of them at least.
Tim, I thought you were going to say it's inevitable that you think I was going to sleep with you when I invite you into my room or house. Thank you.
Well, I feel almost awkward to ask this, but you were saying earlier that you were going through your monthly menstruation almost every time that you would run into Lydia. So in this case, were you like, oh no, here's my big chance, and it's not really it's not really working today?
My period.
Wait. Well, were you on your period at the hotel that day?
Probably because
I love a Bloody Mary.
I have spoken to you and not gotten my period like spontaneously.
There will be blood.
Yeah.
I mean, the menstruation cycle syncing of like roommates and friends, it still blows my mind how
yes,
that
but
works.
I haven't menstruated in decades, so it just must be their bleed for me.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Maybe
it doesn't happen with anybody else.
Hey, trust the witch. You have to get more of those lubricated wooden toys to make you fly up there.
Yeah, I mean, I got my box of
I know you got your toys.
Right there. Sorry.
Well, after the podcast, we'll both pull ours out.
Yeah, I'll show you.
So I went to UMass. I took some classes at Smith. Did you ever take the class with Richard Fantasia? Who all the girls called him Dick Fantasy. That was his because that's
what a great name.
Richard Fantasia, aka Dick Fantasy.
Yes, and that's why I didn't recognize his real name.
Because you only know him as Dick Fantasy.
What does he teach?
He was like a sociology. I took a class in society. It was just like a requirement. He was cool.
I never took a class with him. I just knew his name, and I would like see him around.
You know, I've been kind of having a few of my own dick fantasies lately, but I'm not going to go there right now. I'm just saying, occasionally it happens. What can I say?
Tanya, were you the one that when Lydia and Weasel went up to UMass and there was the panel?
Yes, the panel.
Did you arrange that or how?
I didn't arrange it. I got invited to like moderate some panels because I needed to fulfill the gender quota. And then I said, hey, can I have Lydia come up? Like, do you have money? Because I always like having Lydia come up, especially for academic panels. And then, Weasel came up too. And there's a video of it somewhere on YouTube, and people
I gotta find that
still
again.
get
You know,
messages
I like to
from
appear on
people.
epidemic panels, but
Yeah.
okay, we don't need to go into that because that caused some controversy.
Yeah, people are upset. I mean,
All
I saw
right,
it.
you know, stop with my controversies, Tim. We don't need
All
to.
right.
More
People
people
are upset
not
enough.
upset though than we're upset.
Tough fucking grow some
Yeah.
fucking skin around your.
Well, I'll make one quote I took from it. It doesn't make you look bad, Lydia, but I liked it.
Excuse me. What? Wait, Tim. It doesn't make me look bad.
It makes you look good, actually. It makes
What
you look
could
good.
I can't think of anything that would make me look bad that I.
All
haven't
I know
said
is on the
my-
panel, you silenced the room. It was a little awkward. Everyone's walking on eggshells, and then you kind of went in for the final blow and said, "Sorry, sometimes I get uptight in uptight places."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
I don't know if that's a direct quote, but I'll accept. Okay, thank you very much. Whatever.
and it was the most fun panel of the whole thing. So
like
I
I
mean,
love
it was
love
a punk
panels.
panel.
I love panels.
I went to music camp with one of the women on that panel, and she never liked me back in high school, but I won't mention her name. I don't know
None
what
of
that
them
was
really
about.
liked me either. I mean, I'd never met them before, and I was supposed to like
This
moderate.
one always hated me, but that's because I was getting the girls that she had a crush on, but I had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with me. It was
All
her
right,
fucking
you know,
problem.
it sounds
Tim,
like
it must be hard to be so cute.
Oh God.
you know, I think it's really time to tie it up, Timmy. I'm getting a little too hot under this conversation. Look, we're just going to give a shout out to Tonya Pearson's project called the Women of Rock Oral History Project, which is online, interviewing a lot of incredible gals of all sorts of music. Her Marianne Faithfull memoir journalistic overview will be out in the summer. She will continue to do what she does as a musician, a journalist, a documentarian, and basically a sassy little bitch. I'll see you in your car soon, Tanya.
I'll tie it up with this, Tanya. Lita Ford or Joan Jett? Which one?
I mean, I'd honestly have to go with Lita Ford.
Whoa!
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know.
I'm just thinking about.
What's wrong with a three-way?
Oh, you mean having sex with?
They would. Either of them might go with you solo, but they would never join together.
Sleep with Joan Jett.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But I'm just thinking about ex-runaways, and those are the two most
Yeah, I
famous
was
ones.
supposed to interview Lita Ford too, and then she would always have a different publicist, and it didn't happen. So maybe post-pandemic.
All right. Well, here we are, another year in.
Oh, can I name drop my band too?
Please.
Okay, I played drums in a band, Feminine Aggression, and you can. That's on Bandcamp. So if you want to buy that, that'd be great.
As is the compilation album.
Covers for the Apocalypse, Volume 1.
There we go. Featuring everybody. This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and Tonya Pearson.
Great seeing you, Tanya.
Okay, yeah, you too.
Take care.
Guys.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
This is an excerpt from Why Marianne Faithfull Matters, titled Trauma is a Gateway Drug. In my non-expert opinion, trauma is the gateway drug to substance abuse. Marianne Faithfull, I assume, possesses a great deal of internalized trauma that likely informs her art and was also the catalyst for her rampant heroin addiction. At the risk of sounding melodramatic, I do wonder if it is possible to be born female and not experience trauma. Sure, there are varying levels of trauma, a smorgasbord of horrors, but an objectively minor traumatic event could have major psychological consequences on one person and roll off the shoulders of another. I think the base trauma that all women live with is the sense of being on high alert at all times, and I do mean at all times. Walking, jogging in public, in a classroom, in a hospital, in a shopping mall, at work, while applying for jobs, going out alone, walking in a parking garage, at a concert, at a sporting event, while traveling, while using public transportation, shopping, attending conferences, at church, at the gym, in the woods, on a boat, playing in bands, in the recording studio, at the beach, at the pool, while wearing clothes or not wearing clothes, going to the bathroom, living alone, doing anything alone after dark. You get the idea. Life is a constant state of fight or flight, shoulders up, mild tension headaches, keys between your fingers, and off you go. So we're thrust into this life at birth. If you're lucky, your mother was expecting you and or is glad you've been born. and into a world of incessant vibratory misogyny. We are then culturally conditioned to adjust and react to a dominant heteropatriarchal culture that ebbs and flows in its subtlety, but has always been and continues to be violently sexist. For Marianne Faithfull, beauty was an additional trauma in the mutating cultural context of the 60s, in which men took advantage of and profited from her looks. Would traditional beauty be as traumatic in a global matriarchy? May we someday know the answer to this very important question. I don't think women need to be exceptional beauties in order to be manipulated or taken advantage of, and in this post-gender time, viewing beauty or femininity as tools of male oppression is perhaps an anachronistic argument altogether. However, I do think it is safe to say that women move about in the world conscious of their physicality, their femininity or lack of it, and with a sense that beauty and femininity affords them a certain collateral or leverage. Although Marianne didn't realize she was beautiful until she saw herself on a movie screen for the first time, playing Ophelia in Hamlet, she knew that men found her attractive. Oh, I knew I was nice looking, but I didn't know I was that pretty. I didn't realize until I watched Hamlet in the 1970s. I burst into tears when I saw myself. I thought, blimey, that's what I look like. She was acutely aware of how her beauty and her gender lent themselves to her pop commodification and sexualization, and later fueled vicious rumors in the media. At the same time, she used them as tools to find her way in an entertainment industry that was unwelcoming and did not take her seriously as an artist. What's interesting is that a woman who embodied trauma from the moment she was born weaponized that trauma in order to live and ultimately made an enormous impact on the history and culture that sought to destroy her. And that's what male-dominated rock culture does to women. It destroys them or renders them invisible and does not hold itself accountable for those destructions or omissions. The word trauma is off-putting. I don't like it. It sounds whiny. It gets thrown around these days like the word abuse, which has repurposed interpersonal conflict. But trauma is personal, it is subjective, and almost everyone has it. Your parent forgetting to pick you up from soccer practice could be the precursor to a cocaine addiction. It is less about the event itself and more about how we internalize and make sense of the event. I would assume that a healthy person would not resent their parent for such a minor infraction, while a less adjusted kid would assume the worst. Enter the self-loathing and cut to 15 years later as that kid snorts lines off a toilet bowl in a coffee shop. There's this myth that trauma is larger than life, catastrophic even. And then you, hypothetically, get sober, start intense therapy, and learn that your simple childhood was a landmine and a catalyst for your descent into depression and addiction. Marianne Faithfull's alcoholic mother, absentee father, and foray into pop stardom were traumatic events. Everything that happened before full-blown heroin addiction, her teenage marriage and attempt to start a family, her relationship with Mick, her sexual exploits and experimentation with drugs were coping mechanisms. They were ways of escaping trauma and existing in an industry, scene, and culture that did not value her as an artist and an individual, which is traumatic in itself. Navigating the world as a woman necessitates constant vigilance. There's another myth that trauma, mental illness, and addiction fuel the creative process, but Marianne Faithfull didn't do anything substantive until Broken English. She wasn't exactly sober then, but she was working on it. The pop stuff isn't what makes her a canonical musical icon. It's the shit she did post-40, post-heroin, Strange Weather, Before the Poison, Negative Capability, and Kurt Weill's The Seven Deadly Sins. When she stopped glorifying the myth of the addicted, suffering artist and began, well, making art. I've taken to adorning my body with tattoos of inspiring women. They all possess talent and personal stories littered with struggle, tragedy, and/or addiction. Judy Garland, Marianne, Edith Piaf. I guess Dolly Parton is the one who's traveled the straight and narrow. No alcoholism, no drug problem, might be involved in a secret decades-long lesbian romance, but that's only problematic to heterosexuals. My family moved into an old house when I was 12. I had my own room for the first time, and this privacy gave me the opportunity to experiment with new hobbies and bad habits. I got away with smoking cigarettes and drinking for so long because I looked like a child until I hit puberty, much, much later than my peers. All I wanted were boobs, my period, and to be a famous musician. Because I was such an anxiety-ridden late bloomer, I emulated women I perceived to be living the dream, rock stars, actresses, heroin addicts, authors, and artists, in order to speed up the maturation process. I started smoking in the 6th grade after I got my first electric guitar. In the 1990s, I bought packs of Marlboros from a vending machine at Bickford's restaurant and smoked in the woods with friends. I chain smoked from 18 to 31. I can't say it was Mary Ann Faithfull's fault directly, but my bad habits were very much informed by romanticizing the bad habits of women before me. Correlation is not causation, but it is something. In her second memoir, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, Mary Ann writes candidly about William S. Burroughs and the beat mythology of heroin use. I didn't just fall into the junkie life, I'd made a study of it. Now I have people fantasizing about me with a needle in my arm, just as I fantasized about the junkie life from William Burroughs' book. Maybe bad habits are just familial-like lines of influence. At 15, I had no idea who Mary Ann Faithfull was, but I recognized her image, the blonde 60s hipster chick I would pass by in Rolling Stone on my way to a Courtney Love article. Courtney Love smokes like a fucking chimney, and I would bet money that Mary Ann's chic smoking image directly or indirectly influenced a young Courtney to embark on a life of unhealthy habits. And so Mary Ann Faithfull and I were connected by cigarettes through generations of smoking rock star women before my musical knowledge had fully formed.